Well, the name The Bridge Garden came from the initial idea that this was supposed to be a place where the neighboring communities to DU and the DU student body and campus could bridge together, form kind of a bridge to build relationships and that sort of thing. And I think that that's why it's right here, because there's houses around and it sort of feels like you're in the neighborhood, but you're also right next to these huge high-rise dorms.
If anything, it's like a little footbridge, like a little kind of shaky one, and everybody's kind of cautious about getting across, but every now and then you'll go out and meet in the middle. So, I mean, it's a limited bridge to the community, but it's still present.
The actual physical wooden bridge was kind of an imagery of that, but after wear and tear and rain and the elements, the wood was really rotting and falling apart, and so we took it apart recently just so that we could have more space for things to grow. And now you can see up in the front there's strawberries everywhere where there was a bridge over it.
The garden was really formed as a place where students were supposed to pair up with community members to work their plots, and that whole basic idea has kind of fallen by the wayside, but I think that the more people that hear about the gardens organizations and really get involved, the better those relationships will be. And I think that the idea of bringing students and neighborhood members together is a good thing, because oftentimes those relationships can be a little bit stressed because of just the nature of students on a big campus.
I think people have really come in at all different experience levels. We've had people who've gardened who are, older retired people who've gardened for 40 years and, have a very exact science about the way they want to do things. And then we have people who've maybe gardened at home with their families a little bit growing up, but weren't really in charge of anything themselves.
I think it's really cool that students can start to get reconnected with their, where their sustenance, where their life comes from in the soil. And community garden ties into that. You also meet community members. So a lot of times as students, you're just always talking to students and teachers, but there's real people outside the little bubble between high and university as well.
Because it's so easy to just stay on campus and stay with your group of friends and go to class and maybe do another club. But I think it's kind of rare to have an opportunity to get involved with the greater community area and get involved with adults in the community and create actual bonds with them and bonds with faculty members, because a bunch of faculty members also have plots in the garden. So I think there's just a lot of value in being part of a community, and the Bridge Garden provides a very tangible way to get involved.
I've started to meet people that are in all different years at DU and worked with professors that I would have never met. I know, like I said, I worked with Dan Powell last year on our plot here in the Bridge Garden, and I consider him one of my good friends here at DU now. And I've got connections to faculty and neighborhood community and everything that I really wouldn't have kind of built had I not involved myself in this garden.
And you meet a lot of people you wouldn't run into normally while in the garden, because everybody is connected to food. So just being involved in the garden gets you tied to that and gets you kind of put in a community that you normally wouldn't be in, because they're not hip enough, or they're not cool enough, or they're 58 and are retired and just live right next to campus and want to help you out and they just know so much and just want to grow some vegetables.
So you feel like everyone kind of helps out each other here?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
I know I was gone for weeks at a time last summer, and all I had to do was stick a little piece of wood in the ground that said, "Please water my plot," and people would water it the whole time I was gone.
That's great.
I know another student who actually just finished her bachelor's degree but was involved in the garden last year, who hadn't been over this season but was really excited to see what changes we've made and how things have progressed. So I think people kind of have an ownership, it's part of their community.
Getting fresh produce from 3 blocks from your tiny little apartment is kind of a neat thing, and I was able to walk over here and pick whatever I wanted for a salad, and walk over here and see my friends watering their plots, and it gave me kind of a place that was peaceful and not covered in cement or brick or Kentucky bluegrass for the last couple years. And the DU's campus is great, but this is kind of a little oasis that's slightly separate that you can kind of run away to.
A lot of the food goes to people's homes. A lot of people take food to their coworkers and friends and family if they have extra food. We've also donated food to different, food banks and refugee community centers throughout the years. Some people have gotten involved in canning and preserving their food so they can eat it all throughout the year because our growing season is so short.
I think it's really cool to just be connected, because so much of our current food system allows for such disconnect over not knowing where your food came from, who farmed it, how many hands have touched it, who's getting paid what for what. So there's a lot of social justice and environmental issues in the food system that sprout from disconnect. And I think it's really cool to take a step back and have our hands in the ground and be a real, have a real tangible connection to your food. And I think that goes into cooking and that transformation of something from such a raw state to something that nourishes you. I think it can be really powerful.
I would say that it's a really good opportunity to be able to involve yourself in an organization on campus. It gives you the ability to go outside and do something that's productive and not just recreational, but it's really calming. You're able to produce something that wouldn't have been there and is able to sustain people and get your hands dirty, and it's just kind of different than anything else that I've found at DU.
For one thing, it helps the pocketbook, for sure, which is great. My husband and I both have recently finished graduate school, which is very expensive, and it's nice to be able to grow our own food and reduce our grocery bills. And it's also nice to grow food that we know is organic. We know everything that's gone into it, and there's also just that sense of accomplishment of I made this, and how much more fun is it to cook when you're cooking with ingredients that you've helped create.
It's a new beginning every time, for sure. Just seeing people who you haven't seen for a few seasons getting back and meeting new faces, just kind of what keeps us human, I think.
Well, I really like sort of planting and helping out, and then when we get to have a get-together, we always sort of work as a team. If a wheelbarrow is flat or something, we always put rocks in it and then carry it to people.
What's your favorite vegetable that you have in the garden that you grow and that you get to eat?
Probably the sweet peas and carrots. Those are probably my favorites.